Hi. Hi. My name's Annie White, and I'm doing this video to tell you why I think that what kind of balanced literacy program I would use and why. And I would use a hybrid approach. The reason why I just have certain philosophies in life, and I would use a hybrid approach because I believe that all the approaches are the best approaches that are out there. The literacy circles, literature circles, reading and writing workshop, the literature focus units, and even the basal reading program, which I know gets a lot of flack, like people think it's boring and everything, but let me tell you the reason why I would use it, and that is because I think personally that it's a great base. And it's got information in there, but the thing in there is that, and it does have assessments in there, the thing in there is that it has on-level reading. So that's a good base. So I personally will always go out and get text sets. I don't, even if it's just a basal reader, or if it is a literature circle, which a literature focus unit, which I think most people do that anyway. But the reading and the writing workshops, I would do that as well, because you want to have a different variety of not just genres but levels. Maybe I'll be blessed and I'll get a classroom where everybody's on the same level, but I really don't think so. And anyway, I think that variety is the spice of life. The Americans say that. The Greeks say that. A lot of people say that. So as far as cultural aspect goes, like clothing and food, it's like that. So I think variety is the spice of life, and it is like a vitamin. If you get too much of one vitamin, if you get too much of one particular kind of program, I think it could cause a vitamin deficiency or a deficiency. And so you do have to find that perfect balance. Whatever you use, whatever fits for you in your classroom. I think that if that's the goal, to find that balance, you will find that balance, because you can bring other things into the program than what it says in the book. So I'm going to bring as many different things in as I can possibly imagine, along with my students. I think I'm very innovative and imaginative and talented, and I like to bring that out of my students. And sometimes your students will bring that out in you. But anyway, I'm definitely a hybridist, and I think we as teachers should have more than enough material. Like my grandmother used to say, it's better to have more than enough than not enough. She was a seamstress, among many other awesome talents that she had. But so having more than enough material in our tool belts is something that we should have, because that way it's easier to have a balanced approach. It's easier to give the students what they need. I have a plaque in my room on my wall that says "Follow a plan but be flexible." It's a lot easier to be flexible if you have more than enough material to work with. So it's also, like I said, it's like a multivitamin. Too much of anything is not good for you. The perfect blend of all the vitamins or all the literacy programs consistently every day can supersede some kind of mediocre program or bad health in your classroom. Mindset and physically communicate, the way people communicate with you. If you don't mind, another analogy, it's like fueling a well-oiled machine. You just have to have that perfect balance. But just because you say, well, I'm going to be a hybridist, I'm going to use all the programs, that doesn't mean that you're going to find the perfect balance that way. You have to find that perfect balance every program that you use, and every program that you use. So whatever the situation, whatever the the program that I use, or the skills that I always want to keep those multiple intelligences in mind. So in other words, you have to keep feeding your students challenging knowledge that make their spark plugs ignite all over their brain. And then in this way, they won't just remember the work or the strategy better, but they'll be able to integrate the new knowledge better with their other information that they're incorporating into their brain, as they grow up and experience new knowledge and new strategies in life. So you don't have to have the same amount of time spent in each program every day or every week. You just, you might want to use one a day or incorporate a new program every week, but you have to get to know your students and spend the appropriate amount of time in each program, each activity, and each little mini lesson that's warranted. It depends on your background. It depends on the student's background and who needs what and how much at any time. It also depends on the content that you're studying with your class and each individual. So if you need to have different centers going on at the same time for differentiated instruction, I like that idea. Some people don't. But for differentiated instruction and scaffolding, then making use of all the programs might prove to be better or not. It just depends. It really depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on the child. So it just really depends on how each child learns. And we as teachers, we do need to perform balancing acts because no individual is exactly the same. And they might have totally opposite totally opposite ways of learning and looking at things. So I do like the idea of having portfolios in my classroom for all my students. I like as many examples of my students' growth and change as possible, and I do want them to be authentic. So what better way, I think, to make sure that I have as many products as possible to put in these portfolios than to incorporate all the literacy programs. I think that in that way it's a no-brainer. I want to assess my students in as many different ways as possible and teach and have them learn as diversely as possible. The more activities, the better. Also, through this balanced literacy program, several standards and skills are addressed. So hybrid is king with me, and that's why. Thank you.